Hi, this is Adrian.
And I'm Carrie.
And for this episode of the Scent Library, we are going to talk about the Cartier Experience, what it's like to enjoy perfumes from Cartier.
Cartier.
Yeah.
So Cartier is a very, very well-known designer house, but more for jewelry than for perfumes.
Oh.
So as a matter of fact, their first perfume, which you see in front of us right now, Must de Cartier for women, came out in 1981, a full 120 years after they went into business in jewelry. So we'll be going over quite a few of their fragrances that have been out in the market since around 1981 and discuss the sort of the variety and the overall sort of a genre that they present in fragrances. The first one, as I said, this is Must de Cartier, like I must do something or you must have this, not musk like you would expect in perfume. So make sure that you understand that. It's not musk with a K, it's must with a T.
You must have it.
Like you must have it. And back in 1981, when this came out, it definitely was a must-have. Everybody that loved perfumes and stuff went after this one. It was a huge success. And the fact that it's still on the market, 42 years later, is a testament to that it was a well-designed classic. It's certainly not as popular as some of the other big-name fragrances that are out, but it's definitely a favorite among people that like certain kinds of classic perfumes. This one came out in 1981, and it was done by a perfumer, Jean-Jacques Denner. And it was the first one launched of the fragrances for Cartier, and then they very quickly came out after that with one for men, which we'll talk about in a couple more moments. Anyway, the line with Must came out with some notes that were a big hit with people. Among them, galbanum, jasmine, vanilla, sandalwood made this one a real hit. And these are the things that for a long time, everybody really loved about this one. So then let's move on to the next Must.
Yes, the next Must.
This one you also must have, but it came out quite a few years later. It's actually fairly recent, 2015.
Oh, wow.
This one is the Parfum version. The other one that we were just looking at was the Eau de Toilette.
And this one is strong on the galbanum.
Yes, this one is strong in galbanum. And as a matter of fact, they only list 3 notes. This one came out in 2015, and it was done by the House of Cartier. They don't actually list who the perfumer was, although I imagine if you dig long and hard enough, you could probably find out who it was. But the only 3 notes that they list are jasmine, galbanum, and vanilla in the base. And those are all in the original one, but those are the ones that everybody always would talk about in it. And so they came out with a Parfum version that just featured those 3 notes.
Yeah.
So this one's also for women. Now, on the men's side,
okay. This one's
we have
a
this
favorite.
one. Yeah, I feel like it should be playing the 2001 Space Odyssey because of the big black monument sort of a look. The bottle has changed somewhat over the years, but Santos by Cartier was the first men's fragrance that came out. It also came out in 1981, and it was done by perfumer Daniel Moyer. This one had top notes of lavender, juniper, basil, lemon verbena, bergamot, galbanum also. And then middle notes of nutmeg, vetiver, geranium, rosemary, clary sage, and in the base, sandalwood, amber, patchouli, vanilla, and coconut.
Oh, wow. And this one is fresh and spicy.
It's very spicy, yeah.
Yes.
It does have a freshness. I think the galbanum lends that sort of a greenness and freshness that cuts through even in
the lavender too.
Lavender, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And this one definitely spicy. Now, if you want a fragrance that's going to last all day and then some, this one is definitely it. There is a Santos de Cartier concentré. Both of them are listed as Eau de Toilette, but the concentré, I think, takes out some of the notes of the original and pumps up certain ones that are more characteristic of, or more signature parts of this fragrance. The Must Concentrate is very difficult to get a hold of these days. This one, I believe the original Santos is discontinued, but you're still able to find it if you look hard enough.
Okay.
All right, let's move on. So now we're moving into a line of fragrance that seems to be very successful for men from Cartier. It's the Declaration line. Now, I don't have the original Declaration Eau de Toilette, but this one is fairly early in the flankers after the original
Declaration de
Soir. Yes. Now, you liked this one when you tried it.
The rose is good.
Yeah.
Rose. Yeah.
So this one came out in 2012. And this one is, I think, one of the first ones done by a legendary perfumer with the House of Cartier, Mathilde Laurent.
Okay.
She's still with Cartier and doing quite a few fragrances. You'll notice I mentioned her name quite a bit in the next several fragrances. So this one, it has notes of cardamom, caraway, black pepper, mid of rose, nutmeg, and the base of sandalwood. And I know, like when you were wearing this one, I could smell it, nice scent trail from, several feet. And the projection was initially probably was about 3 or 4 feet. Later on through the day, of course, it dies down and hangs a little bit closer, but it lasts a long time.
Yes.
That's one of the things that I noticed about it. It smells really great and it lasts for quite a while. Now, moving on to back to the original Declaration line, this is the Declaration Parfum. So this one came out in 2018. I think it was 1998 that the original Declaration Eau de Toilette came out. This one was released 20 years after it, and it's a more concentrated version that goes back to the original and kind of pays homage to that. The original was done by Jean-Claude Elena. Mm-hmm. This one was redesigned by Mathilde Laurent, and she stayed pretty close to original notes, but accented the things that people love the most about it. And this one has top notes of bitter orange, and then middle of spice, cardamom, cumin, base of leather, cedar, benzoin, vetiver, tolu balsam, and amber.
Yes, it's excellent nighttime fragrance.
Right. So then let's move on to another goodie. Now, this one goes back to the ladies' side. This is called Delices Parfum.
Oh, it's called Delices.
Delices, yeah. It's spelled with an S on the end, but it's just pronounced as Delices.
Yes, and it smells like what it looks like, a cherry.
Yes, it's a very cherry-forward fragrance. And the Delices is the French word for delight.
Okay.
So this one came out in 2008. The original one, which I think was a parfum or an eau de parfum, was launched in 2006 by Christine Nagel. Mm-hmm. And this one came out in 2008, presumably also by her. This one has notes of frosted cherry, bergamot, pink pepper, violet, jasmine, freesia, amber, tonka bean, musk, and sandalwood. When you tried this, what was your impression of it?
Oh, yeah, it was cherry forward. Definitely strong on the cherry. But later, of course, you don't smell the cherry anymore, but it still smells fruity.
Right. One thing to note for people who love cherry, and I'm one of those people, the cherry is actually an accord. It's not just one molecule that makes it up. It's a mixture of several things that smell like cherry. Often the cherry smell starts to fade away into sort of an amber or marzipan sort of a smell. This one actually smells a little bit more like cherry for longer than most fragrances. And this one, obviously, as a parfum, it's going to hang a lot closer and stay around a lot longer. So we hope that, when you use a parfum, that it's going to last a long time and then give you a nice close to the body sort of a scent bubble.
Okay.
So, okay, now moving on to another one that is a very famous one. This one is for men, or that's how it's marketed. This is L'Envol by Cartier. It's an eau de parfum, and it came out in 2016. It's also by Mathilde Laurent, and it's inspired by like ambrosia and mead sorts of smells. It has notes of lavender, sage, violet, pepper, and then base notes of honey, iris, gaiac wood, musk, patchouli, amber, and cedar. So
even though it has honey on it, it's not that sweet.
yeah, it doesn't smell really sweet, but it smells kind of like honey. How like honey has a certain smell that comes towards you that smells of something that would be sweet, but it doesn't smell necessarily sweet itself. And so yeah, it's supposed to remind people of things like I said, like mead and ambrosia. So it has a sweet but not sugary sort of a smell, or sweet but not syrupy sort of a smell. This one is a 2016, also by Mathilde Laurent. So she's making quite a name for herself since she got into Cartier, putting out quite a few fragrances that are pretty big successes. Okay, now we're going to move into a line that there are several different flankers of. I don't have the original one, but this one I think was along the first of the line. This is La Panthere. And if it's a little hard to see, but
you can get a visage.
You can visage vaguely through the bottle. You see the face of a panther there. Now, where that comes in is Cartier has a line of jewelry called La Panthere.
Okay.
And that was apparently inspired by the lady who, Jacques Cartier, I guess this was his lover or mistress or something, and he called her La Panthere. And so this line was inspired apparently by another line just called Panthere that was done back in the 80s. La Panthere is a new take on it. You want to guess who the perfumer is?
Same person?
Mathilde Laurent.
Okay.
So she came out with this one in 2014. This one was inspired by the original Panthere from 1986 by Alberto Morillas. Okay, so the notes in this are dried fruits, rhubarb, big strawberry.
Okay.
Apparently not little strawberries. Anise, bergamot, so kind of a licorice note in there. And then rose, ylang ylang, pear, and orange blossom, oak moss, musk, leather, and patchouli. So definitely kind of a sweet, fruity, playful sort of a smell with a little kind of tart hints of rhubarb and stuff. What did you think of this one?
Well, it's been a while since I smelled it, but it's kind of fruity, you know. It's a little sweet, but not too much.
Did it feel like it lasted very long, or did it go away fairly quickly?
Medium.
Okay. All right, so that one was in 2014. Now, also in 2014, they came out with this little gem. This is the Parfum Extrait. So this was a special limited edition. It is not sold anymore. If you try to find this, you have to go to secondary sources like eBay or something. This one was in fairly limited release, and this one harkens back to the original La Panthere. It was also released in the same year, also by Mathilde Laurent, and it has dried fruits, big strawberry once again, and rhubarb, gardenia and iris, musk, moss, leather, and patchouli. So it has less of the notes than the original one, but a little bit more of an emphasis on some of the sweet, fruity, fresh sorts of smells in it. And so this one lasts a long time. It's a Parfum Extrait. It's almost like 50% Parfum oil. So a little bit goes a long, long way and lasts for a long time.
Okay.
Now,
another Panther.
Another Panther. This one is maybe a little bit easier to see the Panther face in, depending on what light you catch it in. This one, instead of the bottle being smooth on the outside and carved out on the inside, it's carved out on the outside. This is La Panthere Eau de Toilette, and it was released in 2018. Now, the thing that caught me is rather strange, and I may have this wrong, but I'm just going from records I can find of releases and stuff like that. This is a 2018 release, and I find it kind of strange that they came out with the Eau de Parfum version earlier than the Eau de Toilette. But sometimes that's how it goes. And you want to guess who this was by?
Mathilde.
Yep, Mathilde Laurent, also 2018. This one follows a similar profile to how the others were, but uses some different notes. It uses grapefruit in the top notes, grapefruit and bergamot, then gardenia, lily of the valley, pineapple.
It's very floral.
Yeah, pineapple, rose, jasmine, and pear. And then the same base as the others had: musk, patchouli, leather, and sandalwood. So that'll kind of complete our line of the Panthers. Yeah, this one, if nothing else, the bottles are sort of a delight to have. But I actually like the fragrances. They're women's fragrances, so I don't really wear them, but I like to smell them. To me, they definitely fall on the feminine leaning profile. I think anybody can wear whatever they want to.
Yeah.
So, if you get your nose on this and you love it, just wear it. Don't worry about the fact that it's marketed for women and stuff. If people smell it and they love it, there's other profiles of things that are marketed for men that are almost exact, they're along the same lines as this. So if you enjoy it, just go ahead and enjoy it. Okay. Now, an interesting one. This one is pretty hard to get a hold of these days. I believe only one of them, possibly this one, is still available. It's still marketed. The others have been discontinued. This one is called Le Baiser, but it looks like it's spelled Le Baiser Du Dragon. So what that means is Kiss of the Dragon.
Yes.
So this one was by Alberto Morillas. This was before Mathilde Laurent.
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised, though, if some of the later ones that came out of this were redesigned by her.
This smells like bitter and almondy
Yeah.
smell.
Well, interestingly, the top note, one of the forward top notes, is bitter almond.
Yeah.
So it takes a little bit of getting used to, which when I say that about fragrances, people are like, well, what about people that are walking by and smell it? They have no time to get used to it. That's true. But if you wear the perfume for you, you wear it for you. And sometimes, the notes that come off right at first, they are not the ones that people notice later. They're the ones that you kind of catch when you first put it on. So, it just depends on how well you like what it smells like in the dry down. Now, this one has top notes of amaretto and bitter almond, which are both part of an accord that go together. Gardenia, neroli. So those are the things that I really like about the opening, is more the neroli. And then it has middle notes of cedar, iris, and musk and jasmine rose, which are all fairly strong. And I don't necessarily smell all of those at once, but I kind of smell them at different points during the dry down. And then in the base, there's vetiver, patchouli, benzoin, amber, cedar, dark chocolate, and caramel. So there's kind of a gourmand to this with the almond, the dark chocolate, and so on.
But not sweet. It doesn't smell that sweet.
No, it doesn't smell sweet.
Even with the caramel.
It's kind of bitter.
Yeah, it's bitter.
So like I said, it's an acquired taste, but it's one of those things that if you're sort of into collecting, grab it now, because since the time that I picked this one up a while ago, the prices have almost doubled on the secondary market on eBay. So there's not a lot of it left out there to grab. So get it while you can. Okay, now moving on to another one that unfortunately is hard to get a hold of because it's discontinued.
It's also, I feel like it's popular.
It smells, yeah, it smells to me like ones that are in the kind of the popular sort of groove.
Yeah.
It's a freshie, which is not necessarily up until recently, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Freshies are not a big thing in the house of Cartier. Maybe the Declaration d'un Soir. There's also another flanker in the Declaration series that's kind of a freshie. But this one really is the first one that came out that was marketed as a fresh type of a scent. And Roadster, which came out in 2008, and surprisingly, even being that far back before she really seemed to be the main person at Cartier, Mathilde Laurent did.
Okay.
So this one is known for its cool mint opening note. It has mint, vetiver, patchouli, vanilla, labdanum, and bergamot. So they don't list them as necessarily top notes or middle notes or whatever. But I definitely noticed in the opening, there's this fresh sort of a mint smell and bergamot. Then you get sort of the vetiver, patchouli kind of that are the next things that you smell as the top fades away. And it leaves you with a sort of a, like the labdanum, patchouli, and a little bit of a smooth vanilla. Not a sweet vanilla, but just vanilla-like. Like you could smell somebody has an ice cream cone or something like that, but it's not a sweet vanilla. It's kind of almost like, I don't know, maybe if you smell a white chocolate bar or something. This one is an eau de toilette. It is very hard to find anymore, but I thought it's worth mentioning just to set off the line. And what did you think of it when you wore it?
I would like to wear it on fall or spring because it smells like, being outside. It smells like outdoors. That's probably why it's called Roadster.
Probably, yeah. It's definitely to put you in mind of days that are nice enough to be outside in a car that has a convertible top and have the top down. Okay, now, next we're going to move along to the Pasha line. Now, Pasha originally was released in 1992. And I remember getting the original Pasha back in, I believe it was probably around 94 or 95. And I think it was an eau de toilette version. I loved it. It was sort of a spicy, I wouldn't necessarily call it fresh, but maybe a light, spicy, warm sort of a scent that had a little bit of green notes or something to it. This one came out in 2020 and also by Mathilde Laurent. And this one tamed down the number of notes by quite a bit because the original one had a lot of notes to it. This one is listed as just sandalwood, liqueur, balsam fir, benzoin, ambrosinide, tonka bean, labdanum, and patchouli.
It does smell woody because of the sandalwood.
Yeah, that's what I guess I was searching for with the other one. It had a woody, spicy sort of a scent, but it didn't feel heavy. I felt really okay wearing it in warm situations. I wouldn't say necessarily hot situations. I wouldn't wear it like if I was outside and in the sun and it was 90 degrees.
This one's woody and boozy.
Yeah, woody and boozy, and it lasts a long time and has a great scent trail. Now, before we moved on these, I want to show a couple little things. These are just sort of trivias about the bottles. Let's bring back this one, and Roadster, and one of the Declarations.
This one?
Yeah. Okay, so interesting about these, notice the tops on them.
Okay.
So this one's kind of funny, when you look at it, why would they have designed a top like that? Now this one, there's something very similar about this, but not such a weird top. And this one's kind of right in the middle. Notice this. Well, imagine if you saw this on the side of a wristwatch and we're turning it. They did this one was one of the original ones. It actually is modeled after one of the wristwatches, the the crown on the wristwatch from the time. And then the Pasha, no, it's okay. The Pasha comes from the actual Pasha watch, which has a very, like a jeweled cabochon stone in a very prominent sort of a watch crown. So if people ever look at that and wonder, why do they make the tops like that? Well, they were trying to be reminiscent of one of their jewelry lines, which is really their mainstay. So now we'll move into what I believe are the most recent fragrances by Cartier. And this is a line of 3. We'll put them all up here in a minute. The first one, these are all, I would say, fresh, somewhat floral, fruity sorts of smells. I would say they're really meant for kind of a spring, summer sort of a smell that you want to project. This one is called Allégresse, and it in French means elation or glee. Okay, so it has notes of petitgrain, which is a sort of the leaves of an orange tree, hyacinth, bergamot, cassis, and tuberose. And so definitely a nice kind of a fresh, orangey, green, floral scent. And then we'll move into the next one, which is called luxuriance. This means opulence. So it's supposed to put you in mind of like something very luxurious, something, very over the top. And these all 3 are by Mathilde Laurent. They came out in 2021. This one has herbal notes, fern, geranium, rosemary, oak, mastic, and pistachio.
Oh, pistachio.
Yeah. So a lot of times when I think of like opulent and luxurious, I'm thinking of more like heavy, sweet sort of florally smells or something. This one is definitely on the light side. So it puts you in the mind of, lighter types of things, but also luxurious, like I guess the pistachio and the geranium, rosemary and stuff. And then the final one of this line is insouciance, which means recklessness. So I guess it means like, you just kind of let yourself go and enjoy and stuff like that. Also a 2021 by Mathilde Laurent. And this one is fruity notes, violet, iris, and woody notes. So all 3 of these are eau de toilettes. Let's go ahead and just put them up there to let all 3 of them circulate around. They're meant to be purchased as a set.
Oh.
Obviously, you can buy them separately, but they're meant to be a sort of a set, and you can change them around depending on your moods, whether you're like joyous and gleeful, whether you're feeling opulent or being reckless. Yeah, then you've got your choice of which one of these to go with. They're called the Rivieries series, and they just came out about a year or so ago. They're definitely a lighter, fresher take than most of the Cartier history is. So that ends up our Cartier experience.
Yes, so I hope you have enjoyed this episode, and we will be back for more.
Right. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. We'll try to get back to you as soon as we see them.
Okay, you guys take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.